All right, welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about something that's a huge deal for big companies. How do you actually scale up a digital transformation? The answer, as you might have guessed, is all about being agile. So let's just jump right in with a number 71%. That's how many organizations are already using Agile. Now, that's a huge number, right? So it begs the question, if almost everyone is on board, why is it still so incredibly difficult to scale these big digital projects across an entire company? And that really gets to the heart of the enterprise scaling problem. It's not that people aren't trying, it's just insanely complex. Think about it like this. You're trying to upgrade a train while it's still moving at full speed. You've got to make sure every new part fits perfectly, everything's secure, and you have to test it all without, derailing the entire operation. It's this massive, high-stakes puzzle. Okay, so how on earth do you solve a puzzle that complicated? Well, the answer lies in something called agile transformation. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of how to do it, we really need to get on the same page about two key ideas that make the whole thing work. First up, digital transformation. And let's be super clear here. This is not just about buying some fancy new software or moving to the cloud. It's a total cultural overhaul. We're talking about changing the fundamental DNA of how a business actually works, how it delivers value to customers, with technology acting as the big catalyst for that change. And that brings us to the second piece, the agile solution. You can think of this as both a mindset and a practical toolkit. Instead of planning a huge, risky, all-at-once launch, Agile is all about breaking the work down into small, bite-sized pieces. The whole game is about flexibility, learning as you go, and adapting super quickly. It's pretty much tailor-made for these big, complex projects. And this slide, it just lays it all out so perfectly. On the left, you've got the old-school, traditional way of doing things, right? Rigid 5-year plans, departments that are completely siloed off and barely talk to each other. But then, over on the right, you have the agile approach. It's dynamic, it's collaborative, and it's built for a world that changes in the blink of an eye. We're talking gradual rollouts and constant feedback, not just one big, risky gamble. Okay, so agile sounds pretty great, right? And this is a big but, just deciding to go agile isn't some magic wand you can wave. It's a really powerful strategy, for sure, but trying to scale it across a huge organization is tough. So let's talk about the common roadblocks, the hurdles you're almost guaranteed to face. Challenge number one, and honestly, it's the biggest one, cultural resistance, the human element. People get comfortable doing things a certain way. Change can feel threatening. When you introduce something like an agile framework, it can stir up some real fear about disruption or job security, and that resistance, it's powerful. It can bring a whole transformation grinding to a halt if you don't handle it right. So what's the secret weapon against that kind of resistance? It really comes down to over-communication. You need constant, clear messaging from the top. You need executives who are visibly sponsoring the change. And you need immersive, hands-on training to make everyone feel comfortable and, ultimately, excited about the new way of doing things. All right, next up is the big technical challenge, legacy systems. We're talking about those old, clunky, rigid systems that have been running the business for decades. Trying to integrate those with modern, flexible tools, it's like trying to plug a USB drive into a steam engine. It's a huge technical puzzle, and it requires some serious, careful planning. And here's the pro tip for that one. Whatever you do, don't try to just rip everything out and replace it all at once. That's a recipe for disaster. The much smarter path is a phased migration. You gradually modernize different parts of the system, letting the old and new systems coexist for a while. It's just a much safer, more manageable way to do it that won't bring the whole business to a standstill. And roadblock number 3 is a big one, the skills gap. Look, you can't just tell a team to be agile and expect it to happen. They need to actually understand the language, the frameworks, things like Scrum, which is all about organizing work into short sprints, or Kanban, which helps you visualize your workflow. Without that shared foundation of knowledge, you're really just setting them up to fail. So, what's the bottom line here? It's that you have to invest in your people. It's absolutely crucial. This means creating a culture where learning never stops, through things like professional certifications, dedicated agile coaching, and practical workshops that build real-world skills. It's an investment in your team's confidence, and trust me, it pays off big time. Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, and knowing what you're up against is half the battle, right? Now let's flip the script and look at the actual playbook for success. So here it is, the playbook.
And listen, every single one of these steps is crucial. It all starts at the very top. Leadership has to be aligned and set a super clear vision so everyone understands the why behind the change. Step 2, invest in education for all the teams, not just the tech folks. Then you've got to break down those old silos and create cross-functional teams that have all the skills they need to get the job done. From there, it's about how you work. Adopt that incremental delivery with a constant feedback loop to make sure you're always on track. And this is key. Promote a culture where it's safe to experiment, where failure is seen as a learning opportunity. And finally, you have to measure your success with real data-driven metrics. That's how you prove the value and figure out where to go next.
Look, this all sounds great in theory, but it's not just theory. Agile is already making a massive impact out there in the real world. So let's take a look at a few examples of how these principles are creating some serious value right now.
Take smart manufacturing, for example. Here, Agile is a total game changer. Yeah, it helps automate repetitive tasks and shorten production cycles, but its real superpower is letting factories make super rapid adjustments on the floor. Think about it. The ability to pivot instantly because of a supply chain issue or a new customer demand, that gives them an incredible competitive edge. Or what about healthcare? In this world, Agile is helping to better manage patient data, streamline the diagnostic process, and cut down on all that tedious manual work. And what does that do? It frees up doctors and nurses to meet the rising demand from patients and, ultimately, improve the quality of care. In a field like this, that can literally save lives.
And then there's retail and e-commerce, an industry where trends can change like overnight. For them, Agile isn't just nice to have, it's a survival tool. It lets companies adapt on a dime to new customer behaviors, create those personalized shopping experiences we all love, and keep their inventory optimized. It's all about staying one step ahead in a super competitive market.
So when you look at all this, it's pretty clear that Agile gives us a powerful framework for change. But that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. The biggest question for your company isn't if you're going to transform, because let's face it, that's inevitable. The real question is, who is going to lead that charge? Because at the end of the day, success has less to do with the specific methodology and way more to do with having leaders with the vision and the courage to see it all the way through. So, is your leadership ready?